Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs, and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. In today's episode, I've been working a little bit on the walls of the stone room here. I'm going to do a few more of these around the outside. Wanted to keep it nice and plain, of course, because we're working with a, it's not going to be the fanciest kind of room. It's mainly stone in here, and we don't want the walls to be fancier than the exhibits themselves necessarily, so decided to go with a fairly straightforward wall design. Dark oak, stone, brick, and a little bit of andesite in here as well. And that's really it. Thanks to the fact that we can now connect walls all the way from one block to another without the wall posts showing in this design, unless we end up putting an additional thing connected to them on the back or the front. It actually looks really nice. It looks like a nice little recessed panel here. I was even thinking about putting some paintings up and maybe having a light box made of glowstone or sea lanterns behind that. But I actually think this looks really good by itself, and considering there are no 3x4 paintings like this, there are 4x4 paintings, but I thought, why not just let the wall speak for itself and not have too many distractions? We're going to have a gallery elsewhere in the museum for all of the paintings. But the Wandering Trader seems to have stopped by, and let's take a look at what he's got on offer. A bit of compressed ice, which is what my language resource pack calls packed ice. He's selling sand. I've been mining so much sand lately because I'm working on finishing off the netherite beacon project. I've been doing all of that live on streams, and pretty soon I'll have a video out about exactly how I managed to get hold of a netherite beacon in survival, because we are very, very close to completing that project. Today, though, I want to switch gears on the museum side of things. We've been doing a lot of building, we've been doing a lot of working out where some of the early game resources and stuff are going, and I'm quite happy with the progress so far. But so I don't get burnt out on building, I think it's time to do something a little bit different. Today, we're going to start working on the mob catching side of things, because of course, part of the goal of the museum, as well as every block and item in the game, I want to show off every mob, and unfortunately, this guy might end up being the exception. We might be able to steal his llamas from him, but the Wandering Trader is one thing that you cannot guarantee to keep around. He is always going to disappear, despawn after a certain fixed amount of time, regardless of what you do with him. You name tag him, you put him in a boat or a minecart or something, I'm fairly certain he's going to stick around unless there is another player logged in interacting with him. I'm pretty sure that is the only way to keep him around. So instead, we're going to look at something it is possible to keep around, and something that we've been working with from almost the very beginning of the Survival Guide series. We are going to collect all of the different types of zombie in the game. And you might be kind of surprised to hear that there is more than one type of zombie. I guess aside from baby zombies, there are, in fact, a lot. There are more than you would expect, because not only do we have zombies and baby zombies, we have husks and baby husks, we have drowned and baby drowned, and we also have all of the different types of zombie villagers. So with the rest of the walls going up in here, and I still need to work on the roof design and fix a couple of cosmetic things here and there, decide whether I'm going to have pillars on the corners, and I think I missed one there as well. But outside of that, this is looking pretty good. I'm quite happy with it. We've got a few exits out to some of the other rooms. None of them lead directly into the central, the sort of main entry hall, exhibit hall kind of area where the dragon skeleton is, but I think that'll be fine. People can just pop into one of the other entrances and make their way in here. And I'm just going to wait for it to get dark, which is not too far off at this point, so that we can catch ourselves some basic zombies in this area. It makes sense to catch them right close by. I want to do that on the surface, even though we do have a couple of gaps underneath here where there are going to be some zombies lurking around. I think it makes a lot more sense to do things out in the open where we can control the capture environment a little bit more. And I've got my zombie catching kit on me. I've got this shulker box full of basically every method I've used in the past to catch zombies, so we're doing a little bit of revision here, but I kind of like putting this stuff out there for people to see. But perhaps one of the most important elements is the name tags, because we need to make sure these zombies are not going to despawn, which we can do either by giving them something to hold, or perhaps as an alternative, making them display only. I quite like the name display only for these guys. So we're going to run around, see if we can find a zombie. It shouldn't take too long for a couple to appear, and then we're going to try out a few different capture methods to see which one seems like the easiest to go with. There we go, we've got a contender here already. So let's start off with the dirt method. I'm just going to pillar up 2 blocks. The zombie will not be able to strike me from a 2-block distance. We'll start to make little kind of pillars around the outside, and speed is of the essence here, because you don't want to end up with the zombie being able to climb up and get you, so placing 2 blocks as quickly as possible is kind of the best method here. And if I just look behind him. This is the difficult part about this method, you see. We've got a zombie wandering around here, and he gets into this space, but then his hitbox blocks me from placing anything behind him. Maybe I can jump up, maybe I place one block back. Looks like he's also picked up a dirt block, which is great, means we don't need to name tag him. We can probably place in a couple more blocks behind him, like so, and there we go. We've got that guy trapped. Perfect. Okay, so we can leave him there for now. Of course, we need to make sure that we put some blocks over the top of him so that he doesn't end up burning in the sunlight when we eventually make it daytime. That wasn't too bad, and it's nice and easy to do if you have a limited amount of resources, but perhaps not the easiest way of catching a zombie. Let's move on to the boat method, which I've been favoring lately just on account of quite how easy it is to get hold of them. Now let's look around, see if we can find another zombie. There was one over here that just despawned, and there's one. Okay, let's see if we can bait this guy into walking towards us. I also hear a drowned somewhere under the surface, but we're going to ignore them for now. One advantage of catching zombies over other mobs is that zombies will track you over a larger distance than other mobs. So I've just been able to bait that zombie out into a nice open area here, and look at that. He gets in the boat basically instantly. Now the problem with this method is, of course, that the zombie is now going to be in a boat and basically immovable. We can remove the boat if we want to get him out of it, but of course that's going to mean he can wander around after me again, and maybe if we put up some blocks to make sure that he can only wander into a certain space, that's going to work out for us. But if we want to get into the boat to try and move him around, he is going to start to damage me, which is fine when I'm wearing mostly netherite armor and some protection gear, but it is going to mean we take a little bit of damage. And of course, he's out in the open right now, kind of exposed, so I'm going to build a roof over him just to make sure that we have a nice, easy way of protecting him from the sunlight. There we go, that is zombie number 2. Is he going to hold items? I don't know if this guy is going to. So I think instead what we'll do is we'll name tag him. It's actually kind of nice to have examples of some zombies holding items and some zombies not. So I kind of like that as an option. There we go, he is now display only. This zombie is just a reproduction. No harm will occur. Now let's try the minecart method next. And this one actually has a couple of advantages to it because you get to see the mechanics of mobs trying to avoid walking over rails. And you know what, I'll put a couple of powered rail in here just as a quick test, but we shouldn't need to worry too much about that. Ah, perfect, we've got a couple of zombies walking over here already. Now if I get out into a nice open space and start to build rails in front of me like so, you will notice the zombies don't want to walk over the rails. They actually tend to avoid walking over rails if they can possibly help it. And I found that some of the best way of capturing zombies, or any kind of walking mob really, is to make sure they are near a corner and then just roll a minecart into them like that. It's something that you have to do a little bit quickly in conditions like this where you're out in the open, but it is nice and easy to do, and the hitbox of the minecart actually intersects with them while they're on some of these blocks as the minecart turns the corner. So corners are really the ideal location to be capturing stuff in minecarts. Once again, just to protect this guy from sun damage when the sun comes up, I'm just going to build a little 3x3 shelter over the top of him. It should be fine with just one block above the zombie's head if they're centered on a block, like I think this guy is, but you can never be too careful, and I don't really want to waste the name tag. Speaking of which, we need to grab another name tag out of the box and make sure this guy is tagged as display only as well. Very good. Okay, that's 3 successful zombie catches. Now we're going to have to do a little bit more work on the zombie variants, and that means looking for a baby zombie or a zombie villager. And I'm actually going to look for 2 zombie villagers because my plan is to showcase every single type of zombie villager, every profession, and what they look like as a zombified villager. We're probably not going to do all of the different outfits from the different biomes, but we are going to need to make sure that we have a decent representation of all of them. And so I think I'm going to start curing villagers. That's why I brought the other stuff in the zombie catching kit, to cure them. The idea being that if we start a villager breeder over here, we could manually zombify one villager from each profession, which might seem a little brutal, but I think it's probably the only way we're going to guarantee that we do this in any kind of like swift way. Otherwise we're going to be waiting around for the right type of zombie villager to show up, and that's just going to be a bit of a pain, to be honest. So I think with the sun coming up now, we can probably wait until the next night, hopefully track ourselves down a couple of zombie villagers, catch them in much the same way that we just caught the regular zombies, and then hopefully we should be able to start a villager breeder over here at the museum. And so here we are the following night, and one of the side effects of having farmed a bunch of wood throughout the day and just being in this area is that a lot of mobs have spawned underneath the surface in the areas where I've just kind of like papered over the ground with grass instead of, actually filling any of that in. So a lot of mobs spawn down there, which is why you see me returning from the sky. I was just getting a decent amount of clearance from the ground, and that way a lot more mobs spawn because the stuff underneath the surface has despawned. And we're still going to get spawns down there, but hopefully refreshing the stuff that's on the surface will mean that we can find ourselves a couple of zombie villagers and maybe a baby zombie as well. Now, one of the things, of course, that some of you may be thinking already is that we're going to have to go to places like a desert, places like a river biome somewhere, maybe even to our drowned farm to get hold of the husks and the drowned. And you may be wondering if we're going to include zombie pigmen and zoglins in this, since they are technically zombie variants of other mobs. But I'm not going to do that with this episode and with this exhibit that I have planned, because I think those fall under the broader category of nether mobs, so I think those are going to be more suited to a nether themed exhibit. So we're not going to get those in this episode. I haven't forgotten about them. We are going to get them another time. Oh, this is an additional stroke of luck. Right here we have a baby zombie who's just going to get in the boat casually like that. We also have a baby zombie chicken jockey. Now, this is going to be especially difficult to capture because if you put one of them in a boat, then it will dismount the chicken from the baby zombie. But this is an opportunity we cannot afford to miss, so I'm going to have to grab myself some dirt and make sure that we get this baby zombie chicken jockey in here as well. Now, let's take out the zombie with a couple of... Oh, no! Dang it! I was really hoping that wouldn't happen. That's a real shame. Well, I'm sorry, baby zombie, but we've already got one of you, so I'm afraid you're going to have to go. Oh, here's another great thing we can't afford to miss. We've got a spider jockey over here. All kinds of jockeys apparently coming out tonight. I suppose it makes sense, though, because I have been hanging around the museum site here for quite a while, so the local difficulty is probably off the charts. They are going to be a little unpredictable to catch, though, and it does seem to be fighting another skeleton at this point. Maybe I could use that to my advantage, but unfortunately, yeah, it doesn't really seem like they're going to be that easy to catch, does it? Oh, it's so funny watching them work, though. How on earth am I going to get you? That's my question. Anyway, let's get up here. Let's try and... Oh, the problem is the spider's going to be able to climb this as well. I have not thought this far ahead. I don't know how to deal with you. I think the biggest problem here is that we're also going to have to use transparent blocks to contain them, because this is obviously not something I had considered catching in this episode, but because the spider tends to climb walls, what that's going to do if you put a solid block above its head is suffocate the skeleton. So let me quickly see if I have any glass hanging around in one of these boxes, or at least some transparent blocks that I know we can use. I wonder if maybe we could try with chests. Something like that just seems like a slightly better idea. Of course, the spider can climb all over them, but that's kind of not the point of the exercise here. We need to get them into a location somewhere in the middle here, roughly speaking. Oh gosh, I'm being overrun by mobs at this stage. And it's just occurred to me I didn't end up putting a cover over the top of the baby zombie over here, so I'll need to do that before it starts burning in the boat over here. And looks like the other skeletons and zombies in the area are burning too. The fact that they're in the boat doesn't seem to... Nope, okay, yep, that adult zombie is burning, but thankfully we got here just in time that it seems like we have saved the baby zombie. But the spider jockey is still going to be out there. Maybe it's even despawned at this distance. Oh gosh, it's all go right now. This is a little bit manic, I gotta say. Nope, the spider jockey is still here. Okay, we still have a chance, and now it is during the day. The spider is still potentially going to be aggressive, but let's see if we can get a ceiling over the top of it like this. I've genuinely never tried to catch one of these before, but I think we've done it. I think we may have done it. Okay, that is possibly the weirdest cage I've ever had to make, but I think we have a spider jockey. And now if we name tag both the skeleton and the spider, they should not come uncoupled. And I can't really tell if I have done that or not. If I press F3 and B to take a look at their hitboxes, we'll be able to see the place where the hitbox overlaps, and it's really kind of difficult to tell if we've name tagged them or not, so I'm basically just spamming them with name tags at this point. But the real test is going to be when we fly away and then come back if they have despawned, because if they haven't, that means we've successfully captured a spider jockey today, which would be absolutely incredible for the museum. I was really hoping to get one of these nice and early. Well, folks, all the other mobs on the surface have despawned, and it looks like we're in luck. Our display-only spider jockey has remained, and that's going to be very difficult to get them out of there once we are ready for them, but at least they can stay there for now, right? Even though the cage there is a little unorthodox, I'm so happy that we have a proper Spider Jockey. Now, I'm also going to place a few blocks over the top of here, just in case the skeleton might end up taking sunlight damage. I do not know if the chests underneath there are technically speaking a block that will block light. I don't think they will be if they're transparent blocks that the skeleton doesn't suffocate in. Even though the skeleton is pretty safe in there, I am going to have to make sure that its helmet doesn't break and start to take damage, because zombies and skeletons with armor will, of course, still take damage. It's just that the damage will be absorbed by the equipment they're wearing. Once that helmet breaks, they do start to take sunlight damage once again. So, okay, that has not been a bad night, actually. We've got ourselves a baby zombie, at least. We almost got a baby zombie chicken jockey, but we have a spider jockey as well. Not too terrible for a mob catching session. Yep, finally a zombie villager has appeared, and on a night when there seem to be a lot of other zombies outside, but luckily we can just pop down a boat and he'll get in there nice and easily. Whoa, we got some creepers coming out as well. I need to be a little bit more careful here, and it looks like a skeleton has gotten into one of the other boats with the other zombies. That is another advantage of minecarts over boats, really. The fact that they only carry one passenger, whereas boats will always take two, and now this Enderman is on me, so I need to take to the skies again. Just got to make sure I get my name tag out to name tag the right zombie here. There we go, and we're off again. Hey, there we go. Now, I'm not seeing any more zombie chicken jockeys, sadly, but I'm still looking for a zombie villager. That's the main objective, and hopefully we'll catch another chicken jockey another time. I see one directly below us. The sun is coming up, so I need to work quickly here. We need to drop down and make sure that we get the zombie chicken jockey contained in some sort of cage here, and obviously using glass blocks is not going to work out in the long run for me, but I'm going to try my best to get this zombie chicken jockey into a nice easy pen before the sun comes up and destroys it. There we go, I think we got it, and the chicken is no longer trying to jump over the block, which means we have a zombie chicken jockey contained. Now, the main problem is going to be making sure that the baby zombie stays alive, and currently making sure that I stay alive, but I think we're going to be okay here. The sun is coming up and disposing of everything else, and yeah, the problem now is, do I now open this up and risk potentially harming the baby zombie in order to get it name tagged? Because the baby zombie on there could despawn, leaving only a chicken, and that is very much not what we want here. I'm wondering if we'll be able to name tag it through the wall here, or no, it doesn't look like the hitbox is extending that far. Well, I think we might be able to do a quick swap with a piston here, making sure that we can swap a slab for this block, and then I should be able to reach in and name tag the baby zombie without the chicken thinking this is a block it can pathfind over. Let me quickly grab a piston out of my redstone box and we'll see if we can do this. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can give this a try. I've set up another piston on the opposite side just to make sure we can slide a full block back into place in case the chicken does try and pathfind away. Let's open that up. Name tag the baby zombie like so. Yep, we got it. And then push it back into place. Wonderful. The chicken should not despawn. I don't think the chicken is counted as a hostile mob, even though it is being ridden by one. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a chicken jockey on display here. Now, obviously, it's not going to stay here. We are going to try and maneuver some of these mobs around once it is safe to do so. But for now, I just think capturing them in situ is going to be perfect for what we need later. It also looks like it's in a bottle with almost like a cork sort of stopper on the top, so I'm just going to quickly swap out those two wood blocks for glass so that we can take a look at the baby zombie in all its glory in there. Oh, wonderful. Great stuff. It's even holding a slab, so it wouldn't have ended up despawning anyway, but that is great. I'm very, very happy we have a chicken jockey now. Anyway, now we've gotten that done, it's time to wait for night to fall again so we can attempt to capture another zombie villager, and then it's just a drowned and a husk to take care of. Except I'm going to need two zombie villagers because I didn't put a roof over this one. Oops! Amid the chaos of everything else that was happening, I just never ended up putting a roof on it. Never mind! Two zombie villagers it is. That shouldn't be too hard. Well, folks, mistakes were made because I did a little bit more research and it turns out that you do need to name tag the chicken. So unfortunately, when I came back, the chicken jockey's chicken had disappeared even though the jockey itself remained. But I have gone one better. baby zombie villager chicken jockey. Oh yes, we got another one, and that's probably going to be added to the list instead of a substitute for the baby zombie chicken jockey, because having both would be really, really great. Now, I'm going to have to dispose of these other two regular zombies that are lurking inside of here so I can get to the chicken, but hopefully we should be able to name tag both, and then we should not have a problem here. Just for good measure, I'm going to try and reach in and press F3 and B to see the chicken's hitbox. There we go. I'm fairly certain that I did nickname the chicken there. So let's end up pushing the blocks back from this opposite side, and then hopefully we can seal the deal here. All right, this one here seems like a likely candidate. We've got him in the boat. Fantastic. I should just need to throw down a name tag on him, and we should be ready to roll here. Now, I do need to make sure we've got a roof over him as well, of course. Our little baby zombie chicken jockey is in there, and if we can find another chicken jockey tonight, then that would be fantastic. But if not, we can work on getting ourselves a husk and a drowned. And I think for fun, I'm going to try getting a drowned out of the farm up there. Should be kind of fun to try. Now, it does seem like mobs in boats don't despawn via the normal rules anyway, because the mobs that have gotten into boats with these other zombies that I've been trapping seem to have preserved when I come back down from despawning all the mobs up there in the sky. But I'm not too worried about that, and I do want to make sure that I still name tag them, of course, because we're going to be moving them around eventually, and I don't want to forget about that fact and then have one of them despawn on me later when I'm trying to put the exhibit together. Okay, morning is here, and mostly because I had to sleep because phantoms had spawned. I'd been up for a few nights at that point and figured that phantoms weren't really on the list of stuff to capture today. It will happen eventually, but not today, and I think now is probably the prime time to get these two villagers cured. Now, I believe a couple of changes have been made to make sure that villagers will stay in whatever type of contraption they are currently in. If they're in a minecart or a boat, they should stay in the minecart or a boat when they are cured now. But just in case that doesn't happen, I am going to make sure that they are surrounded in glass. And unfortunately, the layer underneath them is only 1 block thick. And boy, there's a lot of zombies down there, aren't there? Okay, well, I'm going to wait for some of these guys to burn off and then put another layer of blocks underneath them just in case they end up phasing through the block of the floor, which is what used to happen to villagers. Shouldn't happen anymore, but you never know. There he is, our brand new villager, and he does still appear to be in the boat, which is very good news for the chap over there who I have not placed a platform underneath, but yep, he is just a standard villager now, of course, because once they unzombify, in Java Edition at least, they lose their village profession. We're going to apply the professions to them manually using workstations, end up re-zombifying them once we've traded with them once so that they keep that profession, and then hopefully we should be able to gather the full range of villager professions in zombie form. But first we've got to introduce these two to each other because they are going to be our villager breeder over here at the museum. We will, of course, end up needing to breed a bunch of villagers for a non-zombified villager exhibit later down the line, so of course they're going to be incredibly useful for that as well. It's going to be a good idea to keep them around. There he is, safely in his boat, freshly cured. Wonderful. Now, I think with the sun going down, the last thing I want to do over here before we head out and find a desert is target this farm in the sky, and I wonder if there's a way that we can get from this river to the sea. It does look like it might be landlocked in a couple of places. So we're going to have to try and row a drowned down from this farm, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to have to do that during the night because I won't be able to guarantee that he will remain unburnt during the day. So, oh, we got one there with a trident. He's probably not the one I want to bring with me. We should hopefully be able to target, let's say, this one as he comes down. We'll get a boat ready for him. And hopefully, once there's a couple of fish falling down in here as well. Yep, we got one with a nautilus shell there. Let's see what this one has. Nothing. Perfect. Okay, in the boat you go. And let's try and row you off the side here. Geronimo! And I'm going to exit the boat halfway. And he should fall down to the ground and be perfectly safe. That is one very cool thing about boats, is they negate all fall damage to the passengers. So if you're getting mobs down from a farm at a great height like this, it's actually relatively simple to do. Now, the more complicated thing here is going to be getting him closer to the museum site, but that's fine. We can probably just lure him over as it is right now and just make sure there's nothing behind us that's gonna, blow up while we do that. So, taking him out of the boat, like so. Oh, he's picked up the boat. That was not something I had foreseen, because now I'll need to make another boat to trap him in again, or maybe we'll use a minecart for this one. But either way, the museum is really only just over there, so we should be able to lure him over, and we can capture him over there, and that's one drowned for the museum, ready to go. Okay, our friend the boat holding drowned is over here. Probably just going to set up another curved minecart rail for that. Pop him in the minecart, there we go, easy as pie, and get rid of these zombies so that we can name tag him and put a roof over his head. And another drowned seems to have followed me all the way from the river, this one holding an ink sac and some nautilus shells. So we didn't even need to get that guy down from the farm at all, but it seemed like a worthwhile exercise anyway, just in case you guys feel like reproducing that yourselves. We also have another zombie villager over here holding a bone, which is kind of hilarious. He looks a little bit like a caveman, but I think what we'll do is grab another minecart out of here real fast. If I've got one, which I do, perfect, okay. And let's try and get hold of this other drowned as well. And thanks to the fact that this drowned has also picked up an object that he didn't spawn with as equipment, we shouldn't need to name tag him, so I'm actually going to save a name tag for that one and end up using it somewhere else. So for our final catch, the Husk, we're going to have to locate a desert that's relatively close to the museum, and I think I know where one of those is, but I've come back out here to Founder's Forge, and we're going to the Potions Lab underneath this island in Old Town, because I have a feeling that this is one of the few places in the world, yes, where I still have a turtle shell that I can use to brew a potion of the Turtle Master. In fact, I'm going to brew 3 potions of the Turtle Master, because I'll need those to display in the museum eventually anyway, but the idea here is that we are going to be using the resistance effect of that to avoid taking damage from the Husk if I just bring it back using a boat. We also need to get hold of some splash potions of weakness. Yep, I've got a splash potion of weakness there, and the full duration as well. 4-minute duration should be long enough that I can probably bring it back to the museum by boat. And if I just drink a fairly long duration Turtle Master potion between weakness and resistance, I should actually end up taking very little damage. And as luck would have it, we are right close to my mining desert, which I've been using to get hold of all of the sand for the TNT that I've been using to blast out the nether to get netherite. So, obviously, we'll come back to this when we're ready to do the episode about the netherite beacon, but this looks like a great sample of a Husk. Let's see if we can get this one in a boat. Nice and easy, perfect, and now we should just be able to chug a Turtle Master potion, splash it with weakness, give it the name tag, and let's get you back over to the museum. Here we go, and I believe, as you can see, the Husk is trying to attack me right now, but with the weakness potion alone, it's actually too weak to do any damage, which is kind of great. Sort of looks like it's helping me row the boat with its arms there, so it's not doing any damage to me. And your armor rating will, of course, matter here, but all I have on is netherite leggings, netherite boots, and a golden helmet, all with protection 4. Husk can't hurt me at all, so I'm hoping that the duration of the splash potion will take effect for long enough that we'll be able to get back to the museum. But if not, I always have the resistance of the Turtle Master effect in reserve. Here we go, coming up to the coral reef now, which I think means we are about halfway there. And one of the crucial parts of this process is going to be to not let the Husk go in the water at any point. And yep, I am going to have to stop and drink this Turtle Master potion because the Husk is doing damage to me at this point. Now, it should still be able to do damage, but hopefully once I can eat a little bit, the natural regeneration effect is actually going to heal me up faster than the Husk can damage me, and that is one of the other aspects of this process. Although I think the slowness of the Turtle Master potion is also maybe impairing my ability to row this boat any faster, so it might actually be a better idea to go and get another weakness potion. I didn't think it would work out this way, but it seems like it has. Yep, sadly it looks like we are going to have to abandon ship, which is why I name tagged him beforehand, because I want to make sure I can come back and reclaim this guy when I have more splash weakness potions, and hopefully there'll be something to splash them on. I think we might be able to hit the boat, but if not, we may have to grow some kelp and place a block or something like that. Anyway, you sit tight, buddy. I'll be back for you in a second. There he is, looking all lonely on the ocean. Well, I'm not going to take any chances, actually. I'm going to row us closer to shore under the influence of another Turtle Master potion, and then I'm going to end up taking the splash potion out and making sure that he is splashed with weakness. This seems like the most sensible course of action without having to worry too much about getting all of the blocks and stuff figured out here. So splash him with that. There we go, bullseye. Hopefully now he shouldn't do any more damage to me. Yep, he's back to helping me row, and I'm going to row my way over to the museum. Well, sandstone and oak wood are the only blocks that I had on me after I ran out of glass, but there we go. The husk is in, and once I get a little bit more glass together, I'm going to line all of the zombies up, and we're going to have ourselves a nice big family picture. It seems like the right thing to do, to just mock them for all of the hard work they've put me through. Well, folks, this should be the last one who's going over there into the family portrait area I have set up, and yeah, we did end up having to get another baby zombie because the first one ended up getting out. Just wasn't enough to loop him in minecart rail. I ended up having to kill him and get another one, but hopefully he should end up in the, yep, perfectly in the little enclosure that I've made for them. Fantastic. And even without the zombie villagers in here and a regular baby zombie chicken jockey, I think it's really nice having all of them kind of lined up like this. So I think that's going to be where we leave it for today, folks. Had a lot of fun capturing these mobs, a few trials along the way, but it is always worth doing fun stuff like this in Minecraft. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on it for me if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.